How's it? Today is Tuesday, May 5th. It's Boys Day. Today I did some interesting things. I did my hamstring rehab, so like whatever I did for my hamstring patellar tendinopathy last year, and then I did some power box or block power cleans. Um, it's very interesting because I haven't done these physical therapy rehab movements in 4 months, 3 months, something like that. It's quite a long time considering I used to do them 3 times a week since like June, maybe July of last year. So that includes these single leg hip bridges. I think it's like 15 per side with a 3 second hold at the top. And then I moved into these Nordic hamstring curl negatives. Um, I think it was 3 sets of 6. I'm not entirely sure. Like I used to do them all the time where it would just come out like normally. Like I didn't have to think about it. It would just be like, oh yeah, like oh just do rehab stuff. Blah 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 blah. Just go to the next exercise, whatever. Um, and so I go to the next exercise here, which is the tempo back squat. I am like 90% certain this was 303 for 2 sets of 6 RPE 7 and then 2 sets of 6 RPE 8. Some things to note about these. When I was doing these earlier sets, spoiler, my hip started hurting a lot later in the workout. But when I started doing these earlier sets, Steve said to just go to a tolerable range for my hip. But what happened is even at half squats or whatever these are, I guess these are technically squats to parallel, but they hurt a lot. Like I didn't like them. It felt terrible. So when I go up to the next weight, it's I do a single, and basically I had to kind of restructure my entire workout because I couldn't I didn't feel comfortable enough to push through the pain here. You can see there's question marks. Main thing I'm doing here is checking if I'm actually able to execute a squat. And so I can do it body weight like pretty easily. So I should be able to do it with weight, you would think. That's not the case here. Yeah, yeah, I was not happy with that. So after talking with Steve, he wanted me to send him some videos about just me doing some air squats because I told him I could do them without any weight. And so he was like, yeah, those look fine. And these actually look a lot better, right? The biggest thing that I did was I moved my feet in even further. So I'm trying to keep my hips stacked onto my femur for as long as I can. Um, and I'm not sure entirely about the biomechanics or the physiology of how that works, but I know for actually executing the squat, it doesn't hurt as much, like nearly as much, and I can get to a much lower depth. So these tempos are kind of just figuring out, yeah, go a little bit smoother, don't like dive bomb into the hole, and then when I push out, just try and maintain overall positioning, not necessarily just hip activation, but just overall positioning where my hips are tracking properly, but I'm more focusing on pushing with my legs. And you can see here, this is, I mean, 115, which is less than the weight I was doing earlier, but I'm going significantly lower in depth, and it's not nearly as painful. Um, One of the things that he referenced was there was a video that I sent him. It was one of my heavier squats. It was like 370 in like March or something, and it looked fundamentally different than the way I was moving prior to this, where my feet are a little bit wider and I was sitting back on my hips. And he was saying that a lot of the way I used to squat was just one direction, like unidirectional um, pressure, and like where my energy was headed. And instead of me spreading my hips and my knees wide, then that would kind of forced me to counteract my push up by pushing back, which is not ideal for a weightlifting squat because that's not how you would catch the clean, right? So he was saying to just see if I could load my knees a little bit more and just push through my quads, and that's what I'm doing here. And again, I'm not entirely sure how the biomechanics works on my hip, but it definitely feels better, and it feels like I'm actually able to execute the movement. Um, it feels kind of like, say, like if my hip flexor was just a little bit tight on that one day, then that's what it feels like. Versus before, it would be like really actual pain in my adductors, and so this is, I think this is the way forward. We're gonna try and keep pushing that for a little bit with that closer feet. Keep pushing the weight and the range of motion. I know those two things don't usually change together, but given my experience and everything, I think it'll be okay. So from there, I moved into some block power cleans, just a little bit heavier than last week. So last week I did 210 for I think 5 triples, and then today I was supposed to do 215 for 3 to 5 triples. I ended up doing 4 if I recall correctly. That last 185 looked really good. So yeah, I did 4 here. These are actually pretty hard. I thought I was gonna be able to do 5, like no problem. But even squeezing out the 4th one was a little challenging. That was my first set. Not so great. And then I think I put the clips on. Yeah. There was a lot of shaking on that last one. At this point, it's like I'm trying to get to extension, but I'm a little bit scared with how everything felt earlier with my hips. On top of that, I'm very tired, so performance does wax and wane with how tired you are, as expected. That was a really good rep here. Not so good. I got a little bit behind, ball went out a little bit front, so my extension position there was suboptimal. Similar starting position, but I was able to pull that back into my body as long as I kept my chest up. So that's the thing. That one looked a little lumbery, not necessarily slow, but it's like delayed on my extension there. That was a lot better. Probably around the same height or so. Kind of hard to tell. And my last rep out of all of them. Split my feet. It's okay. And then I moved into some overhead presses, just work up to a heavy set of 5. I did 135 today. So last week, if I remember, I did 95, and then I failed at 145 twice. So today I made sure I jumped a little better. So I do 95, 115, 135. And then I tried 145. I didn't get it, as you can tell. But here we go. It's weird because I feel like I could probably do 150. Evidence has shown that I can't, but it feels like I can. With the way 135 feels, it's like, oh, like I might be able to squeeze out 150, right? That's just how am I going to do 150 if I can't do 145? I think I do 3. And then I just give up. Our last rep was way too hard. Then I do some bodyweight dips. I got smart this time and I put all of the boxes, including the bottom one, the topper, on the bottom. The topper on the bottom, yeah. So just 3 sets of 20. Some of these don't look as good. This is the first set. The first set was not as good as the other sets. I can tell you that for sure. And then I do the superset, which is some Romanian deadlifts, superset with some barbell jumps. These are a lot lighter than last week. Last week I did 185. 185 was way too hard. And then I also think I cut out a set. I was supposed to do 3 sets, but I believe I only did 2. I don't really remember because I kind of just rushed through it and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do these. Kind of one of the first times I actually like quote unquote quit or cut reps or whatever. Yeah, one of the first times I did that in a very long time. Yep, here we go. Oh, that's enough athletics for today.